I do on a normal day? What is it like for Georgia Rose, psychic intuitive, and um, astrologer on a daily basis? What's my life like? And that was really the premise behind Quarantine Life and us doing these live shows with each one of your favorite radio hosts. So my day typically is, I have to say my life is really a dichotomy, which I'm sure a lot of you as well, especially now that we're all working from home. My three-dimensional life, which I like to call it, my earthbound world, I am a real estate broker. And I work for a large company on Long Island as their director of business wellness, and I also practice real estate. And so pretty much if I had to describe my job in my three-dimensional world and what I do in the world of real estate is I am a real estate salesperson and agent and broker, but I'm kind of like the Wendy Rhodes. If you ever watch the TV show Billions, I'm kind of like the Wendy Rhodes of real estate for the company that I work for. I actually do a coaching program based on the higher philosophy of life and balancing life, work, and being able to really be the best version of ourselves. So that's what I do in my day-to-day life normally. In my fifth dimensional world, which is the world we would all love to be in all the time, right? Love and peace and lollipops and rainbows. I fly around with angels a lot, and I do astrology, I read charts, and I also do psychic readings for people. Typical day this week, a lot of times people call me when they're having a challenge, and you know, I have a wide circle of friends and people in the spiritual realms in Long Island that we all practice and know each other as a small community. And so on a typical day, you know, someone will call me, my friend just lost her brother, she's in deep grief, are you getting anything, do you know if he's okay, that kind of thing. I also get phone calls to do astrology readings and astrology charts. People will call me and say, you know, I'm having this challenge, or I just met this person, and what do you see in the chart? So it's kind of a strange life sometimes. You know, people will call me on a moment's notice or a whim and kind of expect me to just, you know, pop into another realm and give them a report. So that's a little daunting sometimes. But I do enjoy doing it. Everything that I do is really a gift from God, and everything that, every message I receive is really spirit, a message from spirit. I don't take credit for anything that I do. It's all done basically by God's grace, you know. So that's a little rundown on who I am, what I do. And so I practice on a type of astrology called evolutionary astrology. And evolutionary astrology is using astrology as a healing modality, using astrology as a tool to which we can improve our lives and actually evolve and see things in the chart that help us with our own daily challenges and our own things like that. So today I want to talk about some of the romance indicators and things that go on in a birth chart that show us, number one, how good a relationship can be, or if there's a challenge in a relationship, in the energy and dynamics between two people. And it also tells us the way we love. And, you know, I can look at someone's birth chart, an astrologer can look at someone's birth chart and interpret, you know, how does that person love? How are they, what is their language of love? What do they equate love with? What do they feel most comfortable with as far as a partner and as far as their daily life, what things they truly value? And there's some really interesting ways you can see that in the astrology chart, so we'll talk about that today as well. So first I just want to give a little rundown about the astrology this week. Excuse me, I just ate my lunch before. Biggest thing happening right now is the retrogrades. We've got 4 planets in retrogrades. Retrograde energy, just boilerplate explanation, is it's reversals. It's an energy where we want to slow down. It's an energy where we want to become introspective. Now, as an evolutionary astrologer, I feel that each planet has a spiritual teaching. So depending on the planet that's retrograde, the aspect, the personality, the energy of that planet brings something into our life and into our personal charts that is a spiritual teaching, is a spiritual lesson for us. We have Pluto retrograde right now. So the retrogrades, as far as Pluto goes, I'm going to share our show today. The retrogrades, as far as Pluto goes, really oftentimes want to make us more transformative. It'll make us want to slow down and think about the deeper things in our life. usually on a Pluto retrograde, we're not going to be shallow. We're not going to be flying around super happy and joyful. Pluto is a little bit of a heavier energy, but the reason why it does that is that it slows us down and brings us into a place where we are really able to see things what they are and transform. Many times during a Pluto retrograde season, you'll find that things break off or are, become released in your life. And as a result of that, you're able to move forward and put something even better into that space. Maybe a relationship breaks up or something that you were really wanting to have happen in your life doesn't come forward during a Pluto retrograde. It'll probably come forward afterwards. Saturn is retrograde right now. During a Saturn retrograde, Saturn will either bring in rewards for us for work that we've done, or it will actually reap the not so great things for things we didn't do. So Saturn is really a planet of karma. Saturn is the place in our chart where we can see what karma is happening and what's taking place in that karmic area of our lives. Venus is retrograde right now, and I'm going to talk more about that today as we... sorry, my allergies are really bad. I was out in the yard with the dog before. Venus is retrograde. We're going to talk about that a little more later on, because that is something that really... I'm just sharing the show, that really affects our love life and romance. And so I want to talk about that. That's what the show is about today. Sorry. Pollen count's bad today. Okay. So, Venus is retrograde, Saturn is retrograde, Pluto is retrograde, and Jupiter is retrograde now. When Jupiter is retrograde, just keep sharing this show, I'm sorry. Hey John, hey RJ. So when Jupiter is sharing the show. When Jupiter is retrograde, it slows down things so that we can be more introspective about the things that we really love in our life and what we truly value. So if you take the Jupiter retrograde and Pluto and Saturn and put them all in a big bundle, basically what the energy is, wherever it's focused on your chart, is letting go of what no longer serves, I know, really cliche, in order to bring in our lessons, Saturn, and so that we can actually reap rewards and benevolence, which is Jupiter. So for the next few weeks, I think we're going to be having some super big karmic lessons. I think that those lessons are going to be very deep. I think they're going to be about things we value. And I also think that they're going to be things that in 2021 we really start to actuate in our lives. So just know that that's happening, that's coming up. So right now we're getting a glimpse of what's really going to be happening after December of this year. So I want to go to some romance indicators that we have and we see in our charts all the time. And just going to finish doing this. I'm sorry. I have to do all these chores because I don't have an engineer and I'm not in the studio. So I'm going to give you my full present attention in a minute. So we all have places in our chart where certain aspects happen, and those aspects show how we love, what we love, our language of love, the things that we love and the way we love them. So when I look at someone's chart, the first thing I look at if they've come to me for a reading about either a relationship or they just want to know things about their romantic life in their chart. Typically speaking, what happens is somebody will come in for an astrology reading, and you can book one on zenkuda.com, shameless plug one. And what happens when someone comes into me and they're really curious about their love life, or they see a pattern with relationships, like they keep dating the same kind of people or they keep attracting the same kind of people in their life. Usually when someone comes to me for a reading and those are their questions or their concerns, the first thing I look at in their chart is where Venus is. Venus in the chart shows us our language of love. It shows us where in the chart we not only desire certain qualities in a partner, but it shows us where in the chart our general demeanor, our general language of love is. So the first thing you want to do is look at where Venus is in a chart. And the placement of it in the charts comes in houses, right? Like remember we talk a lot about that pizza pie. I have a couple of charts here we're going to do today. This would be a zodiac chart, and all of these are houses, these little pie shapes, and each house represents something in particular in a certain area of life. And so the first thing I would do, as I say, I apologize, I have such bad allergies today. The first thing I would do is look at where Venus is in the chart. And then once I see where Venus is in the chart, I'm going to look at the house it's in, because that's going to tell me what area of life their Venus is in and what area of life is most important to them in love. And I'm going to look at the sign that planet Venus is in. Your sign is like Leo, Aries, etc. And then I'm going to look into if there's any other aspects, planets or signs or anything that is aspecting Venus. So I know that sounds a little bit weird. If you've never done astrology, if you have a basic understanding of astrology, then you're probably following along. Hi Angelique, hi Gina. So in this particular chart, this is like a typical chart, and this chart is going to look a little bit busier than if you go on astro.com or cafeastrology.com. It's not going to look this cluttered. The reason why these charts look like this is because when I do a reading for someone, I do a super extensive study of their astrology. I've learned over the years different planetary things and different asteroids that I put in and different aspects and different nodes, because that all also governs the chart. So now you want to look for the planet Venus, and Venus is actually a circle with a cross underneath it. Looks like this. I'll draw one for you bigger so you can see, because I know you can't really see on this camera. If I was in the studio, I'd have slides. But that little thing, this is like Venus. It almost looks like a stick person. So Venus in the chart basically tells us where a person's language of love is, or how they love. So in this chart, I can see that Venus is right here. If you can see it, Venus is right here in this sign, which is Aries, right? The ram head. And it's in the very first house of the astrology chart. It's also got another planet squashed up right next to it. If you can see right here, it has another planet right squashed next to it. That other planet that's squashed next to it is Saturn. And when planets are like that in the sky, it's called a conjunction. So the first thing I see when I look at this chart and I want to know what's going on with their Venus is this person has a Venus in Aries, conjunct Saturn in the first house. So what does that mean? Well, Venus, the planet of love, the planet of the things we value, in the first house is the house of self. So right away that tells me that this person may have a tendency to be very self-centered in relationships or judge themselves in a relationship through the interaction with the other person. But their fixation on relationship and on the things they love is going to be self. This could also mean, since this is conjunct with that planet Saturn, which is our lessons, that this person has lessons about love in his life. And that's karmic to me when Saturn is involved. Because remember I was saying Saturn is like our karmic ruler. Saturn is where we reap rewards and where we pay our debts. So when I see Saturn next to Venus in the first house, probably that person's going to have some issues with self-love, with self-acceptance, with maybe being slightly defensive in relationship because they think they're not being loved or cared for enough. So I would counsel someone with this placement, if they had Venus conjunct Saturn in their first house, I would probably be counseling them that the thing you need to focus on before any relationship is your own self-love and making your first house much stronger, that first house of self, having a really strong self-identity before you partner, because one of your karmic challenges is love in the first house, which is self. So do you see how a chart is read? It's really a philosophical understanding of the science of astrology. So the other thing about this particular chart that I would look at is the ruler of the first house. And we do that by, just like this planet, first house, the ruler is this Aries energy here. So now, what's Aries? Aries is the ram. Aries is someone charging in. Aries is a very forceful energy. Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. Mars is like fire, the red planet. It's war. It is Aryan. Anything. It's a fire sign. It It's someone who is very warlike, and when they get upset or angry, they're going to take you down if they have very strong Mars. So, being that their planet Venus, which is the way we love, is in the sign of Aries in their chart, and Aries is this strong, determined, warlike energy. Aries is also very sexual. It's an initiator. You know, CEOs of companies, a lot of them are Aries. You know, Aries, sun, moon, or rising. So when I see someone has the sign of love in a house of warriors and sexuality and fire, that's going to be somebody who's probably very passionate and a conqueror, right? He likes the chase, or she likes the chase. Someone who is an initiator, has no problem coming up and flirting with someone. And it also tells me that they may have a style of tough love. This may be someone that is not super empathetic, is not someone who's going to be soft, touchy-feely in the bedroom or with romance. This is going to be somebody who comes in like the ram, you know, it charges forward, throws you over the shoulder, you know. Someone who in a love relationship is not going to really be comfortable if they come home and you're crying or having a challenge, or you feel weak or insecure. An Aryan Venus is not going to have patience with that, not at all. So you see, just from knowing where the Venus is in the chart and learning how to decipher it, you can absolutely find out how someone's language of love is. And then if you're dating someone, or if you're in partnership with someone, even in a business, this doesn't just have to be a romantic relationship. Venus also talks about the things we love. Aries is a fire sign, so when someone has a Venus in Aries, they're probably going to like to do things very quick. They're probably going to like things that have to do with fire, cooking, being outdoors around a fire. They're going to also, because Aries is that warrior-like energy, they're also sometimes going to be a hero. A lot of firemen have an Aries sun or a Venus in Aries because they love fire and they want to be heroic about it. Aries is the guy coming in on the white charger, you know, the woman waving the flag, Betsy Ross, you know. Aryan energy is very initiative, very conquering, very passionate, and very powerful, which is great if you like that. But if you're someone who is a softer type of person, a Venus and Aries partner may be very hard for you and seem harsh. So that's the first interpretation. And then also, if you wanted to get deeper, you know, Aries is ruled by Mars, so you would look in the chart to where this person's Mars is. This person's particular Mars is in the 8th house, which is death, sex, and taxes. So between having a Venus in Aries, that fiery, passionate sign, and the ruler of Aries in their 8th house, which is very sexual house, very intense house, this person is going to put a lot of weight on the physical and the physicality and the sexual passion of a relationship. So you see how it works? Any questions? Let's see. Hey, Monica. Thank you. Monica ordered our cards. Hey, Jean Gemelli. Joanne. Hey, baby. I got a few people online. I didn't think I would have any people today because this weather is so gorgeous. So let's look at the next chart. This is actually the chart of the moment. Venus right now is in Gemini in the world, right? In our chart of the moment, which is what we call the chart of where the planets are at any given time. Venus is in Gemini. Venus in Gemini, Gemini is an air sign. So Venus in Gemini is going to be someone, and that energy is out in the world right now, of us loving things that have to do with the mind. We're going to overthink things. We're going to think about things logically. We like to categorize things. We like to flip from flower to flower. Venus in Gemini is like the bee pollinating the garden. You know, a lot of times people with Venus in Gemini have a hard time being loyal or being with only one partner over the course of a lifetime. Usually Venus in Gemini people will not always be the most loyal partner. But of course, it depends on what else is in the chart. I'm just doing general stuff here. So Venus is usually in a sign for a short period of time, but Venus is going to be in retrograde in Gemini for a little longer because of the retrograde, which means it slows down. When Venus is in retrograde, especially in a sign like Gemini, which is, you know, puts all of us in our heads, we also like to talk a lot. We'll talk faster. You have to watch your words because Venus is the things we love. And when it's in Gemini, that's communication. And a lot of times when when Venus is in Gemini and it's the communication we love. When it's retrograde, sometimes that can mean harsh words or saying things we don't really mean, or getting into arguments or conflicts because we blurt things out. So for the next 6 weeks or so, we all really want to watch our words with the Gemini retrograde Venus. The other thing a Venus in Gemini retrograde will do is don't change your personal appearance. Now, if we're all let out of the gate is open, and we're all able to go out and go to the salons, do not do anything drastic with your hair. Guys, don't get drastic haircuts. Don't start growing beards and shaving them off and getting tattoos and all these things. Cosmetic surgery should very rarely be done on a retrograde Venus. So you just want to make sure anything with the appearance, right? Because Venus is our love, our physical love. A lot of times things that we do during a Venus retrograde will not come out the way we want them to. All right, so just make sure you take care with that. That's my biggest advice on a Venus retro. Also on a Venus retrograde, many times what we find is if we start a relationship, a new relationship, that could be a business partnership, a romantic partnership, whatever, on a Venus retrograde, which we have, I think, now until June. I can look it up. I don't have my book with me with all the dates. But what happens when we start relationships on a Venus retro is a lot of times it starts out one way and then it doesn't end that way. For instance, you may meet someone and think you have a pretty good idea about who that person is, and then something is revealed once the planet starts going direct again, which will be Venus retrograde, Gemini. I'll get you the dates in a minute. Until June 25th. So we got a while. It's a good 6 weeks. So Venus retrograde also makes things like, it makes us put on the rose-colored glasses sometimes, so that you meet someone new during a Venus retrograde. It doesn't always work out, or something will be revealed once the planet is no longer in retrograde that you didn't know before. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be that you got an impression that somebody wasn't financially secure, and then you come to find out once the Venus goes direct that they're very wealthy. It could be that you maybe thought someone didn't have a degree or an education, and then you find out they do, or it could go in the opposite direction. It could be you thought someone was divorced and they're really still married. But during a Venus retrograde, things are hidden. So when the planet goes direct, a lot of times things will be revealed. So let's go back to our analyses of the where am I here? Here I am. Let's go back to our analyses of the charts. Oh, thank you, RJ. Okay, so if you have any questions for me, just put them in the comments and we will definitely get to them. So this Venus, this chart this is somebody born in October, and this chart has Venus in, where am I here? This chart has Venus, I don't have glasses on. This chart has Venus in Virgo, which, Venus in Virgo is a very common placement for certain, it goes generationally. And Venus actually has a transit of, I think it is, I want to say 20 years, where it's usually in one sign, like for a while. The Venus in Virgo generation, yeah. So Venus can be a generational planet. Like, it's moving obviously very quickly now, but and it's moving slowly now. It's retrograde, but Venus takes a while to transit each sign. Let me just get this. Yeah, it takes Venus 243 years to go around the whole zodiac, and usually transits are about 8 years apart or so. So that's why you will have, in generations, like if you're close in age with someone, you're probably going to have Venus in the same place or close to each other, which is actually good, because then your language of love would be good. So this gentleman, this was a chart I did a long time ago, a couple of years ago, and his Venus is in Virgo. So Venus in Virgo, what does that tell me? Well, first, Virgo is an earth sign. So this is going to be someone who has a lot of stability and wants a partner who's stable. as opposed to somebody with Venus in Aries, which is a fire sign, which is going to want a spicy partner, going to want an independent partner, not going to want a dependent partner. Someone with Venus in an earth sign like Virgo is going to want someone more down to earth. They're going to want someone really stable. They're going to want someone that is able to give them stability as well, and mutual reception of stability. Virgo is ruled also by Venus. So, yeah. So, my mind keeps going blank today. So, that's going to be, Venus is at home actually in Virgo. So that's good. The planet feels good. Just looking up here. Okay. So just making sure we're still on, because like I said, I don't have an engineer, so I got to make sure I'm still broadcasting. So a Venus in Virgo is somebody who's also going to be very analytical about love. They're going to be someone who likes to categorize things. They may be the type of guy, and Virgo is ruled by Mercury, I'm sorry. They may, okay, I'm still on. They may be someone who's very analytical about love. They may be someone who makes lists. Like, did you ever hear someone who has a checklist of what they want in a partner? That's a Virgo, Venus Virgo. Also, the house that this Venus is in is the 9th house. So this is going to be somebody who probably fantasizes about travel, higher learning. He may be someone who wants a partner who can pursue higher learning with them. Either that's college classes or a hobby that they want to study together, or spirituality or something. A Venus in Virgo is going to be a little bit fussy, a little bit pragmatic. They're going to approach love in a very compatible way. Is this person compatible for me, etc. And in this chart, the Venus is pretty much unaspected. There's no other planets in aspect to or around it. But it does have an aspect with the south node of the moon. And the south node of the moon is the things that we bring into this life, the patterns, the things we're comfortable doing that we probably shouldn't be doing because it's from past life and lessons that we were supposed to learn. So when I see the south node aspecting someone's Venus, that tells me that this person may have a habit of making the same mistake over and over again, choosing the same partners and not being able to get out of their comfort zone. And when what the universe really wants them to do is really come out of their comfort zone. So if I was doing a chart for this person and they wanted a romance reading, probably the way I would counsel them would be, your Venus is in Virgo, it's opposite the south node, it's aspecting that energy that you are comfortable with. If you find yourself repeating relationships, you need to go for a completely different energetic partner. You're probably bringing in partnerships that make you feel persecuted, that make you feel unheard, that make you feel like you can't really be yourself because their south node is in that area of the chart. So I would say to them, you need to branch out. You're somebody who needs to meet someone on vacation in a completely new setting, in a place you've never gone before. If you're always going this way to meet your partner, you need to go this way, because the partners that you're meeting keep reinforcing the patterns that you're making in your life. And that would be the advice I would give them. And looking at a chart like this, I can tell you right now that this person is probably repeating patterns, because I can see it in the chart. The other thing is Mercury, which is the ruler of Virgo, is aspected in this chart in the 7th house of relationship. So that tells me right away that this person is probably here to learn about relationships through his Venus planet, where its placement is, and his conjunction with the south, and his aspect with the south node, to form new relationships in this lifetime that don't continue the patterns of the old lifetime. So, and that's pretty good. So a pretty good chart to read. Another indicative of someone's chart and their language of love is their 7th house and their 5th house. The 5th house is the house of creativity and children and things like sex for love, sex for recreation, like sex for fun, not endorsing anything. The 7th house is your real relationship house. The 7th house is where all of your relationships basically are formed, and the energy that you bring to relationships. So what I would suggest is that if you are in any kind of situation that is repetitive or that is really challenging, look at your 7th house, because you could be having a transit to your 7th house of relationships that shows an indication of what's really going on there. Janine asked, what about Capricorn? For Venus in retrograde for Capricorns right now, I'll be just doing the zodiac wheel in my head. You want to attract an opposite. You want to attract someone who is like a Cancer person. Anyone with a Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you're probably going to do really well with, as long as they are open to the relationship. If you get a Cancer energy that's not really evolved yet and is in fear, you know, the crab likes to go in their shell, that's going to be difficult for you. But Capricorns, definitely, I would say normally, without looking at your chart, you're going to want to go to a Cancer type of ascendant or type of moon or situation like that. In order for me to really do a love reading, I have to see your personal birth chart. So, but what you can do is go on astrology.com or astro.com or cafeastrology.com, and what'll happen is you put in your birth date with the time and place if you know it, and then they'll pop out a chart and just look where Venus is. And like I said, Venus looks like this. This is your Venus. It's the planet Venus. And wherever that is in your chart, you want to look at the house and the placement in the chart. And then look at your 7th house also, and the houses will be numbered, because 7th house really tells you a lot about relationships. Right now, that Venus retrograde in Gemini is actually transiting my 7th house. So I'm probably going to see some relationships, whether it's friendships, business partnerships, acquaintances, neighbors, romance, whatever it is. Some of those I know in the next 6 weeks are probably going to dissolve or fall apart or whatever, or have a challenge. It also means that that's happening in my 7th house. That retrograde also means it's probably going to bring in a lot of people from my past, and it's probably going to bring in new people for me. My 7th house is super, super activated right now. So for me right now until June 25th, it's all about relationships. So how do I handle that? What's the best use of that energy? I remain open. I make sure that I take care of myself in the sense of remaining balanced, doing my yoga, and making sure that my temperament is very balanced, so that I don't speak harshly, or I don't misspeak, or I don't get into an argument or a confrontation using the energy in the lower octave. I meditate and welcome in the Gemini energy to give me more clarity of speech and communication. I tap into the power of that beautiful Gemini communication in order to do more writing, more videos, etc. So that's how I would utilize the energy. When I know a house is super aspected, I'm going to try to be more introspective about it. I'm going to try to be more thought-provoking about it rather than take action. If there are decisions that I have to make about any kind of relationships or partnerships, I'm not going to do it until June 25th because of that aspect in my chart. So we did this chart. Here's somebody who is a Taurus sun in their 5th house. This would be for anybody who would be a Virgo rising, if you know your rising. This is a Virgo rising. Gemini would be hitting your probably 10th career house right now. So that would be where your retrograde for Venus is. But in this chart, this person's Venus is actually in their is actually in Gemini. So this person has a natural Venus in Gemini. So if you were born with Venus in Gemini, if you look at your charts later today and see that, then that is really going to mean that this particular Venus retrograde is going to affect you a lot. On whole, a Venus in Gemini person would be somebody who would be very mental, very communicative in love. They would be somebody that likes to talk about love a lot. You know, they may like pillow talk. They may, depending on which house it's in, they may just have know a little about a lot. A Venus in Gemini, like I said before, is going to be somebody who probably is not going to be super loyal, though. They like to flit around. So this person's Venus is in, did that one, but got one more to do. And then if anybody has any questions just generally about what I look for in a love in the love chart or in the love relationship. This person's Venus is in Capricorn, okay? So in the 11th house. So what that would tell me about their love language would be, first of all, 11th house is groups of friends, hopes, dreams, and wishes. So for somebody with Venus in the 11th, they're going to love to be around groups of people. They're going to really probably be a little bit of an activist with certain groups. Maybe they like to do charity things, or maybe they like to form groups about the things they love, whether that's hiking or a swimmer's club or a tennis club or whatever it might be. Someone with a Venus in the 11th house is going to want to be around groups of people, like groups of people around them. That's the way that they feel loved. Someone with a Venus in Capricorn, again, very stable energy. It's an earth sign. They're going to want to have someone stable in their life. A Capricorn Venus is not going to be attracted to the party girl. A Capricorn Venus is not going to be attracted to the guy who goes from job to job. A Capricorn Venus is going to be somebody who is attracted to a lot of stability, someone who does things slow and methodically. They're not going to be attracted to somebody who's super, super outgoing, life of the party person. So then the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. So they're going to be someone who also loves in order to evolve themselves and learn lessons from people. You know, they're going to have the attitude that every relationship in their life is a relationship where they really get to understand and learn something from someone. They're going to be very much about that. They're also going to want more of a structured relationship. This is not someone who's going to be super spontaneous in love. They're going to want everything planned. If it's a romantic weekend, they're going to want to know what time they're leaving, how are they getting there, how's the transportation, where are you going to eat dinner. This is a very earthy, stable, like the tortoise, not the hare energy. Also, Capricorn will use relationships to climb. Oftentimes, someone with a Venus in Capricorn person will be a social climber, or someone who uses relationships at work to advance. That's just their MO, not in a malicious way. It's just the way that they feel relationships bring them something of profit. And then I would look at this 7th house in this particular chart, and their 7th house is ruled by Virgo, another earth sign. So this particular person is someone who is very, very stable in love and would want their partner to be that way. If their partner suddenly like had a midlife crisis or started acting unstable, this person probably would not really do well with that. They would probably start to feel very unloved and very deprived in the relationship and take it personally. So you can see how just by reading the charts, we really can find out, you know, how the relationships are affected, what kind of things are aspected in each thing. But if you really want to know your language of love, or how you kind of measure up to love, what you feel, the way you feel loved, look at your 5th and 7th houses and where Virgo is in the chart. So Aaron says, hi, Georgia. Hi. If someone purchases astrology reading, how far out is the scheduling? Right now, I actually do have some appointments for June, so I can book for June. And because it takes me a little while to do a chart. It's not just the appointments. Like you can see, I'm pretty in-depth about how I do it. So I really like to study a chart. I put a lot of hours into that before I even go online with the person, Zoom or whatever. And I feel like that's part of my integrity. You know, I bring things to, I'm a Venus in Virgo. So I bring a lot of stability and categorization to things in my love life. So for me, I won't just give you boilerplate astrology. If you come to me for a personal reading, you're going to get a really personal reading. And most of the time, by the end of the reading, it's going to be something karmic revealed in your chart that gives you a lot of insight. So thanks for asking that question, Aaron. And also what I want to say is, I know there are so many gifted astrologers out there. The teachers that I learned from, you know, when part of quarantine life is exposing us as hosts to what we do in our daily life. And usually I live a very secluded life as far as my activity. I almost live a monastic life. I, you know, eat all organic. I do yoga and exercise every day, and I don't take anything artificial into my body. And so I keep my vessel very pure so that I can tap into other realms and really understand the energy in the world. That's brought into the astrology reading. Whether you come to me for a psychic medium reading or an astrology reading, those energies come through. And there's actually something in my chart that shows karmically that I was meant to be an astrologer. So that was really cool when I discovered that, and a teacher pointed that out to me. But the teachers that I learned from, like I said, I live a kind of secluded life. So sometimes if you actually, had a camera on me, you're going to see I spend a tremendous amount of time studying. And, whether that's books or online. And so I have teachers all around the world and all around the country that I actually take astrology from that are very advanced. And some of them have been studying astrology 40, 50 years. And so I feel privileged to be able to, tap into those things. But I think I'm a good astrologer. I think I'm I have a high integrity about it. And that's important to me because there's a lot of people out there who just generally look at a chart and then will do an astrology reading. I'm really not interested in doing that for someone. This is evolutionary astrology. This is the astrology of your soul map, your soul path, to really help you on a course of evolution. And the reason I take it that seriously is because when I started to look at astrology and I started to use my own chart for healing and understand that that was really the map that was handed to me at birth, that this was really God saying to me, I have created you and here are your instructions. That's really what astrology is to me. So when I realized that and uncovered that, I wanted to do it for everyone in the world. Because if someone had done that for me at a much younger age than I finally started doing astrology, boy, I would have saved myself so much trouble, let me tell you. So, Angelique says she's done with love. Yeah, we all get that way, Angelique. And then somebody comes over and, into our energy and we're like, ooh, what's that? It's like when we swear off the chocolate donuts. I don't think I've eaten one in about 15 years. But, there's always something that tempts us, right? Last night, I very rarely crave anything because of my yogic practice. I've learned to be non-attached to everything. And so, or I'm struggling with that every day, right? It's a work in progress. So last night, I literally took a bag of fresh raspberries that I had frozen because, we're all in quarantine, right? So I had gotten fresh raspberries at the supermarket a couple weeks ago, and I would never eat that many raspberries that I bought, so I froze them, put them in baggies. And last night, I just had a sweet tooth, which I very rarely have. So I took this little baggie of raspberries and stuck it in the microwave for like 20 seconds. Oh my God, they were it was like a raspberry slushy. And it was the most delicious, fresh fruit, sugary and sweet. I was like, wow. And it kind of brought me back to a time when I used to crave things that were not good for us, right? Like sugar and sweets. And, I grew up in the generation that you came home from school and mom gave you yodels and scooter pies. So, you always think, how would I ever live without a scooter pie, right? Half people out there don't even know what a scooter pie is. So, being able to get high on a fresh raspberry, I was like, wow, this is really cool. So, believe me, someone will come in to get you high again with love, Angelique. There's always something that's going to tap that craving, that sweet tooth that we love. So, if anybody has any other astrology questions, we've got about 15 minutes left, so I could actually answer some questions, even if it's not about the language of love or love in the chart. I'm trying to think what else I could tell you about love in the chart without getting too deep into my my astrology, because I always have to, I don't want to say dumb myself down, but I get too abstract. I could never explain to you how I would do it all, because some of it is the science of it and the other part is the psychic astrology that I do. So you guys can ask me questions and I'll keep looking. And Angelique's like, no way. Oh, you just feel that way now, sweetie. You always have to open and let love in your life, And that was a lesson also for me, is that when we close, we can't just close one valve. We're not like a big, I don't know, water thing. When we close to love and we close our heart, we close to everything. So if we close off love, romantic love, we're also closing off the love of children and parents and the universe and everything. So we can't close ourselves to love. Just not going to happen. All right? I'm going to pray for you. So let me pick a soul card for the energy of the universe, because we're just hanging out on a Sunday now, having a good time. And I'll be back probably Tuesday, but definitely Thursday. I don't know if I'm going to continue the Tuesday lives. I probably should. Oh, also, if you are interested in astrology, I already had a couple people sign up and I didn't even put it out yet. On the Zenkuda.com website, Zenkuda.com, shameless plug too. You can there's an astrology class that we're doing the first Monday of June, and it's a very basic, I promise not to confuse y'all, it's a very basic class on how to read your chart and follow your sun sign in your chart and what your sun sign has to tell you. So, devil dogs, yeah, right? Joanne knows. Okay, I'll pull a card for you. I'm actually shuffling now, Gina Bina. I'm going to pull a card for World Energy, and then I'm going to pull a card for Gina Kanjemi Coffin. Gina is also part of the staff at Govs Comedy. She's helped me so much. Gina was actually the angel that came in one time, saw my videos. I know her for years. And she said, hey, you got to talk to the producer at Govs. And so I was like, okay. And then I did, and I met Tony and Sally and Eric and everybody there, and they're just a wonderful group. So we're all sending you guys love on this, I don't even know, 63rd day of quarantine or something like that, right? Okay, so card for Gina. Ooh, Gina, this is your card. Gina, I feel like, I'm going to show this card on camera, but I'm just looking at it first because I'm trying to get a hit. Wow, I feel like this is, for some reason, I'm definitely getting like love, parental child love. Like this is something with, I know you have a son, love between you and your son. Like sometimes challenging, but he has so much love and affection for you, and he actually looks up to you. And I just feel like this is like the kiss of a child, you know, and mom kissing the child as well. Like the mutual affection between mother and child. I'm just getting that off this card. I don't know why. And the coloring of it is just so angelic to me and so spiritual to me. Like there's a karmic connection between you and your son. But if there's any challenge right now, don't even worry about it because the love will take over. I don't know if that makes sense to you. If you have a specific question, I will definitely try and answer it for you. And I'll leave that card there while I study it a little bit. Just like a peacefulness that's coming. And even though you may not feel this now, there's a peacefulness that's coming. So, and also, for some reason, I feel like your dad's coming in as well. And it's a very similar energy of just that parental child energy of love. So just take that with you. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that's what Spirit wanted you to hear today. So, Rosa, I'm going to pick a card for you. The class is, I believe it's going to be, it'll probably be, by the time we take questions and answers, the one that's on June 1st, it'll probably just be a one-time thing. I'm actually doing a lot of the curriculum now. If anything, I think it's going to be one time, probably a couple of hours with question and answer, but probably the actual information about an hour, hour and a half. All right, you can find that on my website. Okay, Carrie Ann. And it's only $30, so if you want to take it with your daughter, you can. Okay, and this card is for Rosa. Rosa, I feel like you are doing a lot of deep introspection, but there's a lot of choices and a lot of things going on right now for you. You might want to take a step back from actually having to make the decisions and the choices and just let yourself drop into the lower chakras, not head so much. With Venus and Gemini and all the planets, other planets retrograde, we're in our heads a lot, and we need to go into the lower chakras. That's actually what Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter retrograde want us to do. So I'll show you this card, but I feel like you're trying to see too much at once. You're trying to do too much at once. You need to pull everything apart one by one, take the thing that's the most important thing first. But I would not make any big decisions right now. I feel like you're almost like looking down into all this and it's overwhelming you, bringing you down, bringing your vibration down. You need to step away a little bit, find the joy, bring in light, bring in love into the heart space, and then the decisions will come. So I don't know. So I don't know if that resonates with you, Rosa, but this is the card. And it's somebody like looking into a deep pool, and there's light in the pool, but I feel like this person can't see it because they're just overwhelmed. There's too much going on. So take a step back. You don't have to do anything right now, today. Just take a step back balance yourself again, and then go back and look at things. Yeah, I was just reading Gina. Yeah, it definitely is like your love for your son is so connected to like your dad and you. So I just feel that with this card. Really beautiful. Your dad is very peaceful energy wherever he is. Whether he was that in life or not, he is very peaceful right now where he is on the other side, your dad. Yeah, he's with you all the time. That's how I feel. And I feel like he's around your son. I don't know if there's something where your son carries a name with him or a certain trait, but there's definitely an energetic connection between the three of you. Father, you, son. Definitely an energetic connection. I'm going to pick a card from my buddy Joanne. Haven't seen her in weeks. Oh, Joanne, I feel like you got people pulling on you. I don't know if this is family or children, but I feel like you need to take a step back. Like there's too much in your home. I feel like there's like people are just grabbing at you, and you'll see why I feel like that with this card. You need to get back a little bit to just you. You know, whether that's putting yourself in a certain room or going off by yourself for a day or whatever. But I feel like you need to think more about you and the way you want your future to be. And I feel like you're thinking too much about everybody else in the future, all right? So take some time for yourself, sweetie. This card just makes me feel like there's too much on you. Everybody's pulling at you in a different direction, but you've got a lot of light around you, so tap into that again, okay? You have to do stuff for you, all right? Joanne Odia, I love you. Joanne, send me a video. Put a video on Facebook of you dancing, because I miss your dancing. Joanne is a good friend of mine and sweetheart, and she is like the best dancer whenever we have parties or we all go out. She's like the best dancer ever. So, God, I miss it. We're all going to be back there soon, I'm sure. So I was going to pick a card for World Energy. They're telling me to actually do a 3-card spread. So I'm going to, in closing, do a card for a spread for World Energy. Hi, Nancy. How are you? I guess you're related to Gina. Yeah, your dad's really around you guys. Gina especially, and son. I don't know if Gina's son was the first grandson or not, but for some reason your dad has a lot of affinity towards him. Like I said, it could be a name connection, that they share a name, or they share some trait or something. Maybe he even looks like him, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to move on to World Energy now. All right. Okay. So World Energy, we're still in crisis a little bit. We still have a lot of things that are happening in the world, and they're going to keep happening swiftly. So this is the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords in tarot is a messenger. Knights are also angels. This is like Archangel Michael coming in to save something and make things happen and be our defender. So this leads me to believe that we will be seeing more and more strides and more recovery with the COVID situation, okay? This is upside down. This is in a reversal position. This is the 10 of Cups, which means dreams coming true, hopes and wishes, like the ideal outcome. It's reversed, which means it hasn't happened yet. It's in delay. Also, this is a card of not, when it's in reverse for me, not being too optimistic and not taking the precautions and seeing things for what they really are. And then the last is the Page of Pentacles. This is a message about prosperity, communicative messages in online, through social media, through news, online. When I see these 3 cards, as far as World Energy goes, what this is speaking to me about is that we are going to see some sudden, significant change happening in the world, whether that has to do with the current pandemic or other political things. Things are going to be revealed during this Gemini retrograde that we don't even know about yet. Those revelations are going to make us want to go back to normal or make us want to take action of some kind, but it's not time for that yet. There's delays. And then finally, the communication is clarified. So all of this communication that comes out right now is murky. It's confusing. We don't know what the truth is. We're going to have more of that. More things are going to be revealed. We're going to want to be aggressive about finding the truth. It's not time yet. What they're showing me is not to go into the happy home, all lollipops and rainbows yet, because this came in reversed. So there's more to come. There's more communication that's going to come. It's going to help us to sort out what's true and what's not true. And we're going to be able to make responsible decisions from that. So now, cards of outcome. Everything's going to work out. Everything's going to be wonderful, and everything is going to be at peace. We have one of the best cards in the deck. This is partnership, union. The energy of this, what it means for me as far as world energy goes, is that after we come through this difficult time where things are murky and cloudy and we don't know the truth, and then we finally get all the communication we need to be in balance again, what this card shows me is that we have a new way of being, a new way of communicating, a new way of partnering. And we understand how to communicate better because of all of this. And then the final outcome card is us. It's each one of us sitting in our own space, surrounded by a collective of light that can connect us to our Creator and everyone else in the world. And that's the energy of Saturn going into Aquarius, which comes in December. This card is absolutely indicative of a whole new type of communication, a new perception, of fresh air, refreshing energy coming in to show us that yes, we have to be in our own introspective space. We have to understand our own needs, our own purpose in the world, and then use the light of the collective to be able to connect with everyone else on the planet in a way to communicate and bring love and unity and oneness to everyone. And those are the lessons, and that's the world energy. So Gemini is all over the place, especially now. You've got Venus retrograde for a while, 6 weeks, June 25th. Oh, thank you, Christine. Yeah, Gina, whatever. You know, I'm always here for you guys. Okay. I'm just looking back. I think there was someone else that wanted... Janine wanted me to pick a card for her, which I'm going to do now. This card really, I have to just stay on this a second. This card really sums up for me the world energy. So do it. Use this time to be introspective. Find your fire, find your purpose, and then bring it out into the world. That's what this is all about this whole time. Everything, the COVID, the pandemic, all of it. It doesn't matter where it created from. This is a divine plan. It doesn't matter who implemented it on the earth plane. It was supposed to happen. All right. Janine, this is your card. Bottom of the deck they're telling me to pull. Janine, stay steady. The work that you're doing will be rewarded because in this card, I have all blue around you, which is serenity and peace, and a butterfly. Look at the butterfly flying with you. That's transformation, renewal, new things coming in. So keep doing everything that you're doing. Stick with the plan because that beautiful transformation, the phoenix rising from the ashes, which is Pluto, definitely coming in, okay? I'm going to pick a card for Nancy, and then I might get booted off because I think I have the broadcast for an hour, and then Govs goes on to something else. So I'm going to pick a card for Nancy. Okay. If I don't get booted off, I'll do Nancy and Christine, and then I'm probably going to get booted off. So my cards are available. The Zenkuda Circle of Light Oracle cards are also available on Zenkuda.com. Shameless plug number 3. You can also get Zenkuda merchandise on Mindspring. Okay, this is for Nancy. Nancy, I feel like there's angels around you. And I almost feel like there's an angel around you and you're not open to seeing this. Or seeing the signs of it or feeling the energy of it. And they're like right there saying, hey, hey. And they keep giving you a sign. And you got to look up. You know, a friend of mine gave me that advice years ago. She said, look up and you're going to see signs. Don't look down, look up. And this is the card. All this beautiful blue aqua energy, which is also the throat chakra for me. So if there's something that you need to speak up about or you haven't said, you can say it. And even sometimes when someone passes and we feel like we didn't say something to them, we can still talk to them and they absolutely will hear us. But there's definitely an angel trying to get your attention, someone who's crossed over, giving you signs, and you might not be seeing them all. So look for those signs, look up, and if there's anything throat chakra-wise, Nancy, that you need to speak or say, just do it. Definitely just do it. Okay? If it's to someone who passed over, they will hear you. And Christine, this is a card for you. I'm going to put our card back in the deck. This is the card. Oh, you were just saying about Mercury and all the Mercury energy. Look at all the energy coming out of the head. And this is Mercury right now. You're going to have a million thoughts. Your mind's going to be working really quickly overtime. So just really, really make sure that you take time out to meditate, even if that's just a walk by the ocean. Bring your head down. All this beautiful violet energy that's around you is divinity. And what you want to do is bring that down to the heart chakra. Look at all this beautiful light. But that's Mercury right now. Woo! And so try and bring it down to the lower chakra, the lower heart chakra, to ground yourself. All right, Christine? So I think that's our broadcast today. I love you all. And I will speak to you all Thursday, 6:30 on GovsRadio.com. And then, of course, on Facebook, I do my live. So you can find me on Zenkuda.com, Facebook, Instagram, Zenkuda Official. I have a class coming up in Basic Astrology at the beginning of June if you'd like to participate in that. And also we're starting to do products. We just launched our first Zenkuda product, which is these beautiful Zenkuda Circle of Light Oracle cards, which you can get online. You can pre-order them on Zenkuda.com. Go under services. And I believe they're $35. And they come with a crystal, and you put the cards in a circle, and it brings you a circle of light. All right? So thanks so much, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video and want to share, please do so. Bye-bye. I need theme music.